Hello everyone, welcome back to Mathematics MJ, where numbers make sense. Today we on our lesson number 2, grade 11 algebra. So it's continuation from lesson number 1. So today, guys, I want us to focus on equation involving sets, right? We've already covered sets and exponents. So today I want us to cover um, equation involving sets. So there's steps there, right? So let me just equations involving sets. So there's steps there of solving those equations. Number one, step number one, you have to isolate. You isolate the set. That's the first thing. Number two, you square both sides. Square both sides. Number three, you solve for x. Solve for x, meaning now you have to expect your x to be equals to something when solving for x, right? And then number four, which is compulsory, you check your answer. So you have to check your answer at the end. You check your answer, right? So with that waste of time, actually, with that being said, rather, let's maybe take example one. Let's start with example one and try to apply these steps to see if they can help us, right? So it's not a problem. So example one. So for example one, now they are saying, okay, example one, the question is about determine the value of x if, and then they gave us the sum there. That's root of x plus 2 minus 3 equals to 0. Now, what did I say? We have to follow step number one. Now, step number one, what do we do? You isolate the set, meaning you isolate the root, right? So you'll have your root of x plus 2. When you isolate, which means you have to transpose the number without the side, without the set on the right hand side, right? And then from here, try and square both sides. So this is step number one and step number two, right? And then step number three, now solve for x. So the square will cancel with the root there, right? You'll end up with x plus 2 equals to, we squared both sides, right? So this is 9. And then x is equals to, try and transpose there, that's 9 minus 2. And then you get your 7. Perfect. Now, after getting that answer, now you have to check. You have to check your answer. That's not a problem. Let's check our solution. So checking, while checking, check. So you have your square root of 7 plus 2 there and minus 3. Remember our right hand side is 0. So let's try and work with the left hand side expecting 0, right? So this is root of 9 minus 3. Root of 9 is just 3. 3 minus 3 is 0. So 0 and 0 are equal, which means left hand side is equals to the right hand side, which means this answer is valid. That's how we go about checking your final answer there, right? I hope we understood that part. Now let's move to the next example. Let's move to the next example. It's the same question, but now different example now. It's example number 2. So now you have your example 2 there. So for example 2, we are given, okay, we're given a root of x minus 5 plus 4 equals to 8, right? So again, we have to isolate the set. That's step number 1. So let's do that. We have your x minus 5 equals to, that's 8 minus 4, right? Which will give us what? A 4. Perfect. Step number 2, square both sides. So we square both sides, and then these two, they cancel, right? Now you have your x minus 5 equals to your 16, right? Now transpose. When you transpose now, the negative 5 changes to a positive 5. 5 plus 16 is equals to 21. After getting 21, you check. So it's compulsory for you to check, right? So let's check there. So you have your 21 minus 5 and then plus 4. Now we're expecting to get 8. So now 21 minus 5, that's 16, right? So you'll have your 16 plus 4. So that's just root 16. So root of 16 is just 4 plus 4, which will give us 8. So this answer is valid. This answer is valid. So these are equations involving the sets. They are not that difficult. You just need to make sure that you follow all the steps that I've just listed above, right? So number 3, now we are given 3, and then it's root of 40 minus x, and then minus 5 there equals to 13. Again, you have to isolate your root there, which is your set. Let's isolate the set. So when you transpose 5 changes to positive, then this will be 18, and then square both sides. You square everything. So now when you square, 3 will share that 2 and the set, right? So 3 squared will give us 9. Perfect. Root and that square will cancel. Now you'll have to 40 minus x, and then equals to 324, right? And then now we're going back to grade 10, distribution law. So this will give us 360 minus 9x equals to 324. And then from here, we have to collect the like terms, try to isolate a number with variable x, right? So let's transpose. This will give us 324 minus 360, which will give us minus 36. And then divide both sides by negative 9. Remember, we're trying to isolate x so that we can get the value of x. So this is positive 4. And then after getting a positive 4, you check your answers, meaning now we have to say check. And then that's 3. And then this is 40 minus 4. By the way, in place of x, you substitute whatever the value that you got for x. And then eventually there we get 13. And then left hand side is equal to the right hand side, which means the solution is valid. So now we're done with equation involving sets. Now we have to move to equation with rational exponents. So what do I mean by that now? So it's an equation. So it's an equation where now the exponent is a fraction. right? And then there's conditions. Condition number one, there will be a positive and a negative solution for P if it's even. But if it's odd, then you can only have one solution. Meaning now, this is your X, P over Q. P, if it's even, then you will have two solutions. But if your P is odd, then you will have one solution. But I will explain and I will show you how, actually, what do I mean by that, right? It's not a problem and it's not that difficult, by the way. So now let's uh, start with our examples. So let's start with example one. So here they are saying solve for x if, and then they give us x to the power 2 over 3 minus 2 squared equals to 0. We have to solve for x, right? So that's not a problem there. We have a 2 over 3 minus 2 squared equals to 0. This is just difference of two squares, because this is, we can get the square root of x to the power 2 over 3, which is x to the power of 1 over 3. And then this is 2 and 2. Now, difference of two squares. Remember from grade 10, how do we go about factorize the difference of two squares? And then from here, now you'll end up with your x to the power 1 over 3 equals to negative 2, or your x to the power 1 over 3 equals to 2. And then now you multiply your exponents now with an inverse to get rid of that 1 over 3. To get rid of that 1 over 3. So now you'll have your x equals to negative 8 or x equals to 8. And you got your two solutions, right? So there's another way of solving this. Again, there's another way of solving this, which is easy and straightforward, but it can be confusing. But now I'll show you why am I saying that. So now, this is P and then this is Q. Remember, what did I say about P? P, if it's even, then the final answer should be, we should have two solutions if your P is positive. Perfect. So for the first step, okay, your first step there, you'll have your x 2 over 3 equals to, we transpose then. After transposing, you introduce an inverse, meaning now this is 2 over 3. So you multiply by 3 over 2, which is the inverse. What you do on the left-hand side, you must do on the right-hand side. Yeah? And then from here, these, they will cancel, right? X is equals to, now these two, they cancel, but because P was an even number, which means your final answer will have two solutions. So this is plus or minus 2 to the power 3, which is equals to 8. That's your x. Then we done for that example. And then let's move to the next example. So for the next example now, let's see what are they giving us. Still solving for x there, but then now they're giving us x 2 over 3 equals to 2 to the power 4. Okay, it's not a problem. Before we start, we take this fraction, that's P over Q. This is 2 over 3. But your P is an even number, which means we need to have two solutions, right? So since we have two solutions, then we know that x will be equals to maybe -1 or x is equals to 1, something like that. So now let's try and multiply our exponents with an inverse now, with an inverse. So the inverse of 2 over 3, that's 3 over 2. Now what you do on your left-hand side, you must do on the right-hand side. That's 3 over 2. And then try and cancel out everything. Now you're left with 4 times 3, that's 12. 12 divided by 2, that's 6, so it's 2 to the power 6, but plus or minus, right? Which will give us plus or minus 64. And then that's your final answer there. Now let's move to the next example now. Now for the next example, now they're giving us x to the power 3 over 2 equals to 125. Again, we still have to solve for x, right? We still have to solve for x. So the first step there, you break this into prime factors. So this is 5 to the power 3 or 5 cubed, right? And then at this point, you multiply by an inverse. That's 2 over 3. That's 2 over 3. And then cancel out everything. 2 over 3. Then they cancel there. Now x is equals to these two. They cancel. We left with 5 squared. And then your 5 squared is just your 25 there. I hope we're still together and no one is lost. But if you feel like you're struggling, stop the video, go back, right? Go back. Now let's move to the next example. Now they're giving us x minus 3. Now there's 2 over 3 there equals to 9. Now what is the first step? Right, definitely we have to break 9, right? We have to break 9. That's perfect. Then the second step, you multiply by an inverse, 3 over 2 times 3 over 2. What you do on the left-hand side, you must do on the right-hand side. And then we start canceling there. Now we have your x minus 3 equals to 2 and 2 will cancel. This is 3 to the power 3. But now the value there of p is what? Is an even number, which means we must have what? Plus or minus the, right? So that's x minus 3 equals to plus or minus 27. And then that's x minus 3 equals to 27, or x minus 3 equals to minus 27. Two solutions. So this will give us a positive 30, or x is equals to 3 minus 27, that's minus 24. Perfect. Lovely. So far so good. So far so good. Now let's move to the next example now. Let's move to the next example. So now for our next example, they are giving us 3 x over 2 equals to, sorry, 9. Okay, remember we did exponents on our previous lesson, right? So since we did exponents, then it's not a problem, because here we can just write this in a form of 3 to the power of 2 or 3 squared. Now you have same basis now. Just drop down the exponents, right? And then after dropping down the exponents, you multiply by the denominator so that we can get rid of the fraction. We hate working with fractions. Then this is your final answer. Amen to that. Now let's continue. Our next example. Now they are trying to challenge us now. They're trying to challenge us, but then now you have me. I'm here for you. I'm here for you. I am here for you. You won't struggle when I'm here. So the first step here, you have to multiply with the inverse. So this is 5/4. So you multiply both sides by an inverse. And then cancel out everything. Now your x is equals to. Now for this one, you'll have your 2 to the power 8 times 5/4. Use your calculator here, you'll get your 2 to the power of 10. Same applies to 3 there, 8 times 5/4, which will give us 3 to the power of 10. So the final answers there, you'll have your 2 to the power of 10 and then your 3 to the power of 10. Then that's it. I hope it makes sense. Next example. Basically, it's our last example. Last example. So you have your 3x over 2 equals to 9, 2x over 2. So now let's group numbers with variables together and then numbers without variables together, right? So what do I mean by that? You can only do that not by transposing, but by dividing. So I'll divide by 2x over 2, both sides. 2x over 2, right? Same time, I'm dividing with 4, again, both sides. And then from here, 4 and 4 will cancel this side, and then 2 to the power of x over 2 will cancel on our right hand side. And then you'll be left with 3x over 2, and then 2x over 2 is equals to 9/4. Okay, and then from here, let's apply this law. X, and then this is equals to, take out your common factor there, or your common exponent. We apply that law. So you'll have your 3/2 to the power x over 2 is equals to. This can be expressed as 3 squared over 2 squared. Apply this law again. So this will give us 3/2 all squared. Now, lovely. Same basis, 3/2, 3/2. Drop down the exponents. So you have your x over 2 equals to 2. What do? We hate working with fractions, meaning you multiply with your denominator both sides. Therefore, this is the sign of therefore. Therefore, x is equals to 4. Then that's it for today. Thank you so much, guys, for your time, and I hope that this video made a difference.